Hi everyone, I'm Andy, and this is the AI Breakdown. Welcome to your weekly news edition where I'll cover what happened in AI last week, why it matters, all in less than 10 minutes. Let's start with a big structural move in the industry. OpenAI has finally completed its conversion into a public benefit corporation overseen by a non-profit foundation. Attorneys general in Delaware and California said they wouldn't oppose the plan, clearing a major legal hurdle. OpenAI also locked in a new deal with Microsoft, which now holds roughly a 27% stake. Crucially, any future claim that OpenAI has reached AGI will need to be validated by an independent expert panel. AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, refers to systems that can outperform humans across most economically valuable tasks. That's the mission OpenAI set out with back in 2015, when it launched as a non-profit focused on developing AGI safely for the benefit of humanity. The agreement values OpenAI at around $500 billion, putting Microsoft's slice at north of $100 billion. Pretty wild for a company that started life as a research lab. Elon Musk, an original OpenAI co-founder, pushed back on the shift in direction with a lawsuit. He dropped it, refiled it, then threw in a curveball with an almost $100 billion bid to take over the company. This restructuring tidies up a messy year of governance, gives enterprise buyers more confidence, and sets up a proper runway for massive capital raises tied to cloud and chips. Speaking of capital, as I covered in last week's roundup, SoftBank's board approved the remaining $22.5 billion of its OpenAI investment. It's contingent on that restructuring being across the line, which conveniently it now is. If the entire package completes, we're talking about a $41 billion financing plan. That doesn't just pad their balance sheet, it can translate into more GPUs, more data center buildouts, and faster product cycles. We're in a phase where the best capitalized labs will separate from the pack. Onto the cloud side, Amazon rolled out Project Rainier, a huge AI compute cluster spanning multiple US data centers and launching with close to 500,000 Trainium2 chips. Anthropic will ramp to more than 1 million Trainium2 chips on AWS by the end of the year to train and run Claude. In other words, AWS isn't sitting around waiting for Nvidia, it's betting big on its own silicon to drive down the cost of training and inference. If Trainium2 delivers competitive performance at scale, get ready for some serious pricing pressure across the AI stack. With AI compute demand exploding, the race to build supercomputer-grade infrastructure is heating up. Meta, Alphabet, and OpenAI are all piling in. OpenAI alone has committed to 10 gigawatts of new capacity, backed by major chip makers and cloud giants. Amazon's logistics muscle and strong local government relationships are giving it a head start. In London, the LSEG Anthropic tie-up is a clear signal of how premium data will plug into AI assistance. The London Stock Exchange Group is giving Claude users access to workspace and financial analytics data under strict enterprise controls, and the market liked it with shares ticking up on the news. The deal also calms earlier fears that generative AI might sidestep LSEG by scraping or sourcing data elsewhere. Instead, it shows that leading model developers are willing to pay for clean, high-quality licensed datasets. This is real-world adoption, where you can imagine analysts using Claude to summarize earnings calls, surface diligence signals, and query financials through compliant channels. The takeaway for major data vendors is strategic. The distribution channel for information is shifting toward AI interfaces, and providers that integrate early will maintain pricing power and customer visibility. On the hardware geopolitics front, Nvidia is set to deliver more than 260,000 Blackwell chips to the South Korean government and major firms like Samsung, SK, Hyundai, and Naver. Hyundai is even building a dedicated supercomputer for in-vehicle AI, robotics, and smart factory systems. Jensen Huang cast the move as Korea producing intelligence as a new export. This is industrial strategy in motion, and a reminder that countries beyond the US and China are scrambling to lock in national AI capacity. Security got some spotlight last week too. Palo Alto Networks unveiled Prisma AIRS 2.0 for securing AI applications and Cortex Cloud 2.0 with agentic automation. The timing makes sense. Everyone's racing to ship AI into production, yet the security posture is miles behind. Palo Alto flagged the gap that 78% of organizations are rolling out AI, but only 6% have proper safeguards in place. Prisma Airs aims to plug key holes across the AI app lifecycle with 3 pillars. AI agent security monitors and controls agent behavior, defends against prompt injection, and maps who's using what. AI red teaming stress tests systems with hundreds of tailored attacks. And AI model security checks architecture for backdoors, poisoning, and other threats. This is exactly the kind of tooling we need. AI agents are already starting to crank out code faster than humans can review it, and that gap is only getting wider. Add vibe coding founders shipping apps at warp speed with zero threat modeling, and you've got a stack of ticking security time bombs. As LLM agents move deeper into enterprise workflows, the attack surface shifts from code to behavior. The security model has to follow. We're heading into an era where you don't just secure APIs and endpoints, you secure agents, data pipelines, and model interactions. Automated, dependable risk controls aren't optional. They're the only way we keep pace. On the policy front, the EU has rolled out its European Democracy Shield proposal. The idea is to bring the big platforms into the fight against hybrid threats and deepfakes, especially around elections. It plugs into the DSA's crisis protocols and would require Google, Meta, Microsoft, TikTok, and X to assess and mitigate risks from AI-generated content. Yes, it'll be a compliance headache, but honestly, without clearer, consistent rules for how platforms handle this stuff, future election cycles will be a mess. Google's smart home users in the US are getting the first taste of Gemini for home. It started rolling out in early access this week, and it's set to replace Google Assistant on Nest devices. Big shift. This version runs on the Gemini large language model, so you'll get more natural conversations and support for more complex tasks than the current assistant can handle. If you fancy trying it early, you can request access. Head to your Google Group settings, enable the option to let Google add you to groups, then pop into the Google Home app, open Home settings, and look for the early access option. If you get approved, Gemini for Home replaces Google Assistant across all your compatible devices. Worth noting, you can't switch back once you're in. And a couple of the fancy features like Gemini Live and Camera History Search sit behind a Google Home Premium subscription. Let's finish with a real-world win. Diligent Robotics has rolled out Moxie 2.0 in hospitals, with 10 times more onboard compute and smoother, more natural behavior in hectic spaces like corridors and lift lobbies. The company says Moxie has already completed more than 1.25 million deliveries across 25 hospitals, and they're now scaling the number of robots per site. This is the quiet revolution I love. Embodied AI taking repetitive, non-clinical tasks off staff so they can focus on patients. That's all for this week's AI Roundup. If you found value in this breakdown, please leave a rating and hit subscribe. See you next week.